You're listening to the Around the Huddle podcast, powered by PAC-Hub. Around the Huddle, college sports beyond the game.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Around the Huddle podcast, where we talk about college sports beyond the game. I'm John Gross, so happy to have all of you with us today for what is going to be an extremely insightful episode, a very timely episode with the NCAA Wrestling Championship starting tomorrow. We are recording this on Wednesday night, and we are going to be talking about the heavy favorites to bring home a 12th national title in 14 years, the Penn State Wrestling team. It's a program that it goes beyond a dynasty. And we're going to talk to an expert on the team and on Penn State athletics in general about how Cael Sanderson has built this program and how the changing landscape of college athletics has impacted it, or maybe hasn't impacted Penn State athletics. But before we get to that, a reminder that we are powered by PAC-Hub. Take a look, bottom of your screen. PAC-Hub, connecting athletes with opportunities. Look, winter sports season is winding down. Coaches are leaving schools. Student athletes are pondering their futures. If you are a student athlete and you enter the NCAA portal, check out PAC-Hub. If you're saying to yourself, how can I get noticed? How can I get on the radar of a coach to be recruited when I'm in the NCAA portal? PAC-Hub is your place. By entering the PAC-Hub portal, your stats populate. Your measurables go in there. Academic information, right hand, left hand, all sorts of different information and specifications that allow coaches to search for you, to find you, their missing piece, and to give you that next opportunity that is available in the PAC-Hub portal. From the coach's perspective, same thing. You can go in there and you can search for your specific type of athlete that you want, utilizing the measurables, utilizing the positions, the statistics, the academic information. It is a truly revolutionary product that is on the forefront of all of these changes in the ever-changing landscape of college athletics. So check out PAC-Hub, PAC-HUB.com. Again, PAC-HUB.com. And a reminder to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. We are at 19 subscribers now, just about, a month and a half into this thing. So solid start. I appreciate all of our subscribers. Let's get the number up to 30. I think that's a pretty obtainable goal by the end of this month, end of March, start of April. Let's get to 30 subscribers. All right, we can do it. Also, like our videos, comment. If you comment on our videos, let us know what topics you want us to discuss. So many changing things in the world of college athletics. So many programs making noise, coaches doing really frontline things to try to push the envelope, athletes doing the same. So let us know who and what you want us to talk about on the Around the Huddle podcast. But as promised, today we are going to talk about the most successful NCAA program in recent history, the Penn State Wrestling program. This is a team that has won 11 team NCAA championships in the last 13 seasons. That is inconceivable, folks. That is inconceivable. But Cael Sanderson has brought this program to heights that no one has really ever seen. And to discuss Penn State wrestling and how the current landscape of college athletics maybe has or hasn't changed the program, and what Cael Sanderson has done to elevate this program to where it is now, is our guest today, Zach Seyko. Zach is a proud Penn State graduate, class of 2018. He currently hosts the #1 daily Penn State sports podcast, Locked On Nittany Lions. Go check it out. It's available on YouTube and everywhere that you get your podcasts. New episodes daily for his show. He's also the former ESPN Radio State College Program Director. So without further ado, let's welcome on today's guest to the Around the Huddle podcast, Zach Seyko. Zach, thanks for hopping on today.
Hey, John, thanks for the invite. It's great to connect again because we went to Penn State at the same time as one another. So long time no see, but I was happy when you sent out an invitation for this.
And look, it's great to connect with you as well. We had Tyler King on, a fellow Penn State grad, to talk about Deion Sanders and all that he's doing out of Colorado. Look, Cael Sanderson has totally changed wrestling. What he's done is unbelievable. And I've enjoyed your wrestling content over the years as well. So I figured, hey, nobody better to talk about Cael and the Nittany Lions than Zach. So appreciate you hopping on. And look, 11 championships in the last 13 years. Let's put this in context, right? Mm-hmm. Because maybe people out there watching don't watch wrestling, don't understand the history of the sport. Has anything like this ever happened?
I mean, you could go all the way back. Wrestling goes through these historical periods where Iowa did something similar under Dan Gable, where they just dominated. Minnesota did this once upon a time. Oklahoma State back in the 50s, right? They put together a dual meet win streak that Penn State is going to be challenging going into next season. I think they're, off the top of my head, I should know this, but they're about 6 or 7 away from tying and then breaking the dual meet record for consecutive victories. So Penn State is now the modern iteration of this, where it was Oklahoma State and Minnesota and Iowa. Now Penn State's kind of taken the torch. So wrestling has an interesting habit of being so one-sided, being so top-heavy, interestingly enough. For Penn State, Cael Sanderson has, in this modern era, now NIL and the transfer portal, haven't necessarily complicated things just yet. But despite, I mean, this has gone back before, right? It's been, like you mentioned, 11 out of the last 13. They're going for their 12th. They're going to win their 12th. The discussion's not even about, they're going to, can they even win the 12th NCAA title? No, it's about, are they going to break the records that they just set a season ago? Can they move the bar a little bit higher? So that's what the conversation is. Can Penn State defeat former Penn State teams, not even the field that they're going to see at the NCAA tournament? So Cael Sanderson is certainly... it's some people, obviously Penn State fans are going to like it a lot. Other people that might be critical are going to be extremely critical of it, that it's bad for the sport. It's not. I say it's good because eventually when you topple this giant, it's going to be remembered for a long time. So it's Penn State, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. So when that does happen, if it does happen, I mean, Penn State just continues to roll. I really don't see this stopping anytime. So, well, next season or the year after, we're talking about 5 years out where maybe Penn State could hypothetically be challenged. And that's a lot to project way in advance. So right now, Cael has this down to an art and a science. He controls it all.
Yeah, he's seeking his 12th team title as the coach. That's second only to Iowa legend Dan Gable, who had 15. Cael certainly closing in on that record. It blows me away what you just mentioned, that the NCAA championship starting tomorrow, the discussion is not even about, is Penn State going to win? It's how dominant will Penn State be? How many guys will be up there on the podium as All-Americans, as national champions? It's truly, truly unbelievable. Let's dive into Cael Sanderson himself to kick things off. Obviously a legendary coach, but the word legend has been next to Cael Sanderson's name well before his coaching career. So let's start with him growing up, getting into wrestling at the college level at Iowa State, undefeated in college, right? He's regarded as one of the all-time greatest wrestlers.
Yeah, it starts there. I mean, you have to be able to live it to be able to teach it, right? And oftentimes, maybe not necessarily often, but I think we see from the greats like a Michael Jordan or a Wayne Gretzky for the adjacent sport, is that coaches and leadership doesn't always translate from that star player. So, and I can't say that it's often, but I think when you talk about stars of other sports, rarely does it happen, or it doesn't happen as often as maybe as it should, where a superstar of that respective sport goes on and he's able to lead, or they are able, or he or she are able to lead a team down the line. And that's what Cael Sanderson has done. He perfected his craft while he was an active athlete at the time, and then he goes into coaching and he does the exact same thing. So he's always had that standard for himself to go undefeated in college, wins an Olympic gold medal, of course, and has a lengthy wrestling career. And then he settles into coaching, Penn State, and it's interesting because he went to Iowa State. He doesn't have Pennsylvania connections. Penn State may have been offered that he couldn't refuse. We're kind of seeing a modern day reiteration of this with David Taylor, a protege of his, and now at Oklahoma State. And they're trying to push into what Cael Sanderson, you're trying to cut into the lead that Cael Sanderson has built and the momentum that he's created. But I think that's what's the most interesting part of this is that his active wrestling career has transitioned into coaching and hasn't missed a beat along the way. He's been successful at every single stage. He anchors down. He just, I think it goes back to his fundamental values of it's not about the wins. It's not about the losses. It's just about, can you every single day show up and fight? And he says that. I enjoy all of the lessons that Cael will almost, I don't know that he tries to, but maybe I hope in a way tries to teach anybody that's listening to him, where he will give these lessons of like, hey, this is what has worked for me. And clearly, because he's had almost, it seems like a 100% success rate, that maybe you should listen to him and the advice or any tidbits about his younger days and the lessons that he's picked up along the way and the coaches that he's worked with and everything else. But it's the basics of, they don't worry about anybody else. They don't worry about Iowa. They don't worry about Oklahoma State. They worry about Penn State and Penn State only, and they just fight. They just go and they compete. It's not about, when you ask him about, hey, what are your expectations? What is this and what is that? He's like, at the end of the day, we don't know what's going to happen. We just know that if we give it our all, if we go out and compete, and it's just those simple basics of not worrying about the opponent, not even worrying about wins and losses, just how can we be the best version of ourselves on that given day, which is why Cael Sanderson is Cael Sanderson.
Hi, I'm Michael. I'm one of the PAC-Hub's AI specialists. Today, I want to show you why PAC-Hub is the ultimate platform for college baseball players looking to transfer to a new college program. First, let's take a look at our extensive network of coaches. With over 150 coaches actively using our system, you have a huge pool of experts to connect with. Imagine having access to all these experienced coaches searching for talent like yours. You even have the ability to connect with any of these coaches via our internal messaging system. This means more opportunities to showcase your skills and find the perfect new team. Now let's switch gears and see things from a coach's perspective. Coaches can easily search for athletes by position or stat. Let's say I'm looking for a left-handed pitcher with good pitching stats. With just a few clicks, I can find top-performing pitchers who meet my criteria. This efficient search functionality ensures that coaches find the perfect fit for their teams and athletes get matched with opportunities that suit their strengths. PAC-Hub is all about connecting talent with opportunity. Whether you're an athlete looking to transfer to a new college team or a coach searching for the next star player, PAC-Hub has the tools you need to succeed. Don't miss out on the chance to be part of this amazing community. Join PAC-Hub today and take the next step in your baseball journey. Visit www.pac-hub.com to sign up now.
One of the all-time greats as a wrestler, as a coach, as we've said. I vividly remember when he was hired at Penn State from his alma mater, by the way, of Iowa State. I was at Penn State, and just days after his hiring was announced, he was doing an autograph signing at the family clothesline. And I was pretty young at that point. Growing up, I was not a wrestling guy, so I didn't have the appreciation for him as I would have had I gone now. But I just remember the excitement of people, seeing him there, getting his autograph, getting photos with him at the family clothesline, which for those who aren't Penn Staters, right downtown, one of the main Penn State gear stores. Awesome place in Happy Valley. Obviously wrestling culture is massive in Pennsylvania, but what was the wrestling culture like at Penn State when Cael Sanderson got there? Like, what did it exist in that, hey, this should be a championship program, or was he a guy who kind of instilled that within the program itself?
And man, I'll be transparent. I'm still a little bit green to this as well, understanding the history and everything. So to say that, hey, I was there when the shift ultimately happened, I wasn't. I was still in high school, graduated in 2018, right? When everything transitioned to Cael Sanderson. And then, being in State College, being around it, being at Penn State, you start to, you hear the stories about it, just how good it, and then you actually see it, and then you report on it, you cover it, you have to design your radio programming around it. Along the way, you pick up so much. So it's Pennsylvania, that you already kind of mentioned it, that Pennsylvania already is the mecca for wrestling as it is. The state of Pennsylvania continues to crank out prospects left and right. There was the debate that, oh, well, Penn State wasn't able to get the commitments from the top wrestling prospects in the state, which also happened to be the top wrestling prospects in the country for Pennsylvania. And that's because Cale Sanderson has made it where, oh, if he doesn't get the top prospects, it's almost a surprise. So that's where Pennsylvania is as a state, is that it's the mecca. It's kind of like how Florida and Texas are that way for football. Pennsylvania is that way for wrestling. So there's just a strong appreciation for wrestling, what it stands for. And I think that's what Cale Sanderson probably saw a long time ago, is that Penn State, it was a combination of, okay, I have something to offer Penn State. What does Penn State have to offer me? And they have to, right, Penn State had to be able to sell him on the idea, and administrations change, coworkers change, the people that sign your paychecks change, and yet you would never have to consider that, oh, he's going to leave, or he's going to think about going back to Iowa State. No, because Penn State has given him everything he could ever want or ask for, and Pat Kraft just recently said, if Cale asked for anything, I'd be inclined to give it to him, whether it was financial or not, because of what he's been able to achieve. So it's that relationship where Cale's done so much for Penn State, but it started with, I mean, Penn State had to be able to say, okay, we can offer something more than what your alma mater is, which is really saying something. Again, when he had no connections to the state of Pennsylvania, but those negotiations, there was a sense of trust that was built. And that trust has never been broken, and it's never going to be.
I want to circle back to something that you mentioned earlier, Zach. Penn State not getting those two prospects from Pennsylvania. A lot of Penn State people online acting like, oh my gosh, is this the end? People outside of the program, outside of Penn State fandom, maybe hoping that it is the end. We are in a different era of college sports now, where guys are no longer just going to the places where they're going to maybe develop into the best wrestlers or win the most. NIL obviously is a big factor. I recently heard Cale say during a media availability that NIL will not define Penn State's recruiting strategy. Is there a concern that that is going to leave Penn State behind some other programs who maybe are more willing to throw NIL at some of these guys and take them away from Penn State?
I think it makes the fight a little more intriguing, but since that's not what they're banking on, because at some point, sometimes the money does run out. And you have to, so Penn State is going off of something that you really can't measure. That's invaluable. And it's that trust, it's that commitment. I like when Cale Sanderson says, we're not going to force a commit. We're not going to push for them if they don't want to be here. The recruiting takes care of itself. And that's what it starts with, is that Cale came in with the idea that I need to build a foundation first. It's not about building teams. It's about building a program. So what did he do? He made sure that the RTC program so the wrestling club, the Penn State, the Nittany Lion Wrestling Club was its core, was its base, because then the guys that have success, they will stay. And then they build this room where you train, where you practice, and that is at the top. Now that requires an investment, that requires money. And it's almost, I mean, the way that college athletics was before. Now, it's not that Penn State wrestlers aren't making any NIL. It's not that they don't have any deals. But it's not about the university directly paying them and promising something to them from the NIL funds. That's not it. So if you're looking to get, the most money that you can, then you probably shouldn't be at this. And that's the way that Penn State operates to begin with. It's not just about wrestling. It's the whole idea of success with honor. Football, to an extent, I think operates that way. Basketball operates that way. And all of the 31 varsity sports do. It's not just wrestling. Even though you see the success with Cale Sanderson, that it's more than just that, but that's the way that Penn State is with success with honor.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Are there other wrestling programs that have gone more all in on the NIL side of things?
I imagine they have to, because they don't have a choice. I think Oklahoma State is at least getting a little more financially aggressive, obviously, at Iowa and the rumors that they have. It really goes back to, why are you there? And why do you want to be here? Because I think Carter Starachi, who's currently at Penn State, going after a 5th NCAA title, which is unprecedented for obvious circumstances. But Starachi said that, it's never going to be about the money. Is he making NIL? Is he making NIL money on the side? Absolutely. He's maximizing his personal value, but that's not what it's about. It's about training to be your best self. And if you're going to be concerned with finances and maximizing your marketability, then it's probably not going to work out for you at Penn State. And that's why Penn State it's hard to break into their foundation, because that's what everybody is there for. They're all pushing the boulder up together, up the mountain together. And it's not one person deviates to do XYZ. They're all doing it as a team, yet individually. So that's why Penn State as a program, you never are really going to have to worry about, are they going to be, as long as Cale Sanderson's there, they're going to be successful, whether that's this kind of success where it's just absolute domination, the rest of the competition has no chance, or they're still number one with a clear gap between everybody else. It's always going to be like that, because Cale Sanderson at his core, he cares, he wants to build trust. It's the things that you actually can't put a dollar sign on or any sort of tangible value. It just goes a long way, and you don't want to force that. If somebody doesn't want to be at Penn State, I think they kind of learned that lesson with some other recruits along the way, where if I had to give maybe an example, Nick Soriano, who was at Penn State, and they didn't want to be at Penn State, and they wanted to try. I don't know the full story there, but just kind of hearing things progressively, that was one of those instances where Penn State and Cale Sanderson kind of learned their lesson, that it doesn't make sense to go out of their way and force a mutual connection when it's not there. And that was before NIL.
And it's really interesting because obviously NIL and the transfer portal have taken over the conversation of college athletics, and a lot of programs are going all in on NIL and all in on the portal. Yet what you're saying is that it's still those old school values of being a team, of developing student athletes, of developing a strong winning culture that is continuing the greatness of Penn State wrestling, which to me is refreshing to hear, because I think while it happens more often than we realize, I feel like we only hear about the stories where that isn't the case. And it sounds like all of these athletes and coaches are so greedy, when in reality, the end goal is still to win. And for the most part, the best way to do that is still by just building a really good culture. And it seems like the culture at Penn State is what leads this program to being the best program year in, year out.
That's just it. It's a brotherhood. It's not this there. It's friendly competition where it's iron sharpens iron. We help each other get better. Do you notice how Penn State never has this? Even though there's 10 starting spots, there's 10 spots in the starting lineup, that there always isn't this constant exodus of talent. Wrestlers that could go somewhere else, that could start at another program, maybe maximize their NIL values because they would be a starter, they would be at another premier program, yet they choose to stay at Penn State when they are not the face of the team. They either wait their turn and they compete to try to carve a spot into the lineup when it is ultra highly competitive. You don't see a lot of these. You don't see a lot of them just cash out and say, I'm done. I couldn't handle it here. I got to move on. They're there for the sake of a lot of other things other than, will I start? Will I get NIL money? And that's why you see some of these other programs where they just don't have the same type of consistency, or why aren't they more successful? I'm not saying that's every single program, but why Penn State has this down to a T is because they say, we're not going to worry about the things that cause negativity, that cause selfishness, that cause greed. And that's what, and you have to, at some point, you have to pay the piper. That's really what it boils down to. And Penn State doesn't want to do that. Penn State doesn't want to get involved with that. So you have to make compromises to get other things. And that's understandable. So you go to Penn State, you compromise your NIL marketability, but in the process, you get the opportunity to be the best of the best and get to train with the best of the best. Or you can go somewhere else, make some money, and then you don't get to train with the best of the best. Then you're kind of on an island and fighting for yourself. Which do you want?
Right. And again, this is not to say that the Penn State wrestlers are not getting NIL. They're, I'm sure, making fantastic money, as they absolutely deserve. It's just a different approach. And this is one of the cool things about getting to chat with you and having some of the other episodes that we've had, just learning about how different programs go about things in completely different ways. It is really cool. You mentioned how Penn State does not have a mass exodus every year of wrestlers. Just so people understand how wrestling works, you have 10 weight classes, 10 starting spots. That's it. Those are the guys who entering a dual meet. Those are the guys who are wrestling. Sometimes you might have some smaller tournaments where other guys get some opportunities and maybe an occasional spot start here and there in a dual meet. But for the most part, like the starting 10, that's going to be set, and you're not going to wrestle. Despite all of that, Penn State had just one guy enter the transfer portal after last season. One. Like, that is absolutely mind-blowing to me how they were able to do that, but it truly speaks volumes about the culture that Cale Sanderson has built at Penn State, and just amazing to see his continued greatness. Okay.
Hi, I'm Michael. I'm one of the PAC-Hub's AI specialists. Today, I want to show you why PAC-Hub is the ultimate platform for college baseball players looking to transfer to a new college program. First, let's take a look at our extensive network of coaches. With over 150 coaches actively using our system, you have a huge pool of experts to connect with. Imagine having access to all these experienced coaches searching for talent like yours. You even have the ability to connect with any of these coaches via our internal messaging system. This means more opportunities to showcase your skills and find the perfect new team. Now let's switch gears and see things from a coach's perspective. Coaches can easily search for athletes by position or stat. Let's say I'm looking for a left-handed pitcher with good pitching stats. With just a few clicks, I can find top-performing pitchers who meet my criteria. This efficient search functionality ensures that coaches find the perfect fit for their teams and athletes get matched with opportunities that suit their strengths. PAC-Hub is all about connecting talent with opportunity. Whether you're an athlete looking to transfer to a new college team or a coach searching for the next star player, PAC-Hub has the tools you need to succeed. Don't miss out on the chance to be part of this amazing community. Join PAC-Hub today and take the next step in your baseball journey. Visit www.pac-hub.com to sign up now.
The NCAA championship starts tomorrow. Again, we are recording this on Wednesday night. And as we discussed earlier, Zach, it's not if Penn State will win the championship, it's by how many points will Penn State win the championship, how many guys will place, how many guys will be on the podium, all that fun stuff. I would love to get your outlook on this. We have a couple minutes left in the show. What is your prediction for what we'll see this weekend? And what should people who maybe don't follow wrestling that closely look out for from this Penn State wrestling team?
Well, it starts with the fact that every single wrestler, so they have all 10 in. That's a big part of it, because you don't just get your full 10 starting lineups in. You go to a conference tournament, you have to place at a certain point to get entered into the NCAAs. So every wrestler placed where they needed to. They either won or came in second or came in third or placed where they needed to, and they move on. They get a qualification, and they get an automatic qualification into the NCAAs. You have auto bids, but then you leave it up to a committee to fill out the rest of the bracket. So Penn State, all 10 of its wrestlers are there as a team. That boosts the scoring when you have 10 people competing to rack up points, and every win is a point, and then how you do is a point. What's the margin of victory? That gets you points in the team race. But Penn State, with all 10 wrestlers, 9 of them are seeded 4th or higher. You have to finish top 8 to get onto the podium and be considered an All-American, while all 10 would be considered at the start of the tournament because they're seeded 8th or higher. There's just one lone wrestler that's seeded 8th. Everybody else is 4th or higher, and Penn State has 4 number 1 seeds. Therefore, based on this initial projection, they're going to get 10 All-Americans. That's only been done once in history by Minnesota in 2001. The record for individual champions, which is tied between Iowa, I'm sure Oklahoma State, Penn State as well, where you get 5 individual champions. The record for the total finalists is 6. So that's something that can be broken. You get 7, you get that next, and but it's 6 versus 7. It's 70% of championships are going to have a Penn State wrestler. If you can do that. The idea, I don't think Cale Sanderson's going to stop until they get 10 NCAA finalists and 10 NCAA champions. I think that it's a complete sweep of the full tournament where you get 10 individual champions. And that's something pretty lofty to chase. So you can keep going out there and fighting and competing the way that Cale emphasizes, because that is such a lofty goal to obtain. But I think that's the idea if they really are chasing something tangible. Bottom line for this tournament, they can get 10 All-Americans. In the process, I think they get 7 NCAA finalists, and my prediction was that they get 5 individual champions. So they win 5, they lose 2. The 7 that I'm predicting, I think Luke Lillidahl wins. He's a true freshman at 125. I think he wins his first NCAA title. He's a world champion, so he's not just your average true freshman. He's a 1 seed, and he's won on the world stage. And then I think Braden Davis, it makes the All-American podium, but he doesn't necessarily place as high. Bo Bartlett, I think he takes 3rd. Shane Van Ness, I think he takes 2nd at 149. Tyler Kasak, I think he is another champion at 157. Mitchell Messenbrink is a champion at 165. Levi Haynes gets revenge along the way and gets a championship at 174. Carter Sirachi's going for his 5th NCAA title. He's got ice in his veins, something. He is cold-blooded. I think he gets it. I think he stands alone at the top of history and gets that 5th NCAA title at 184. Josh Barr's coming in with an injury. I don't know that he's going to be 100%. He showed some flaws, just some gaps with where the other wrestlers are in that bracket, that if you're not 100%, how are you going to do when you're 95, 90? Hopefully he's as close to 100%. And then I think he'll place. I still think he's better than the rest of the competition, despite not being 100%. But those elite guys, I don't know about that. But he'll place. And then Greg Kirkfleet, if it wasn't for Gable Steveson, most people that watch wrestling know who Gable Steveson is. He is elite, doesn't even begin to describe it. He might have a case to be the best wrestler of all time, comparable to Cale Sanderson in due time as history continues to move forward. So he's going to defeat Greg Kirkfleet, so he'll take 2nd. So there you have it. You have two runners up, and then you have 5 individual champions, but everybody placing. That would set the scoring mark. That would reset the margin of victory that Penn State set a season ago. And it wouldn't be close. This would be undisputed the best team in history. And then now Penn State has something else to compete against, another former Penn State team.
Unbelievable. It's just unbelievable that we are talking about another Penn State team that is setting another record. I'm looking forward to it. I know that a lot of people are fired up, a lot of Penn State fans and wrestling fans in general excited just to see what will Penn State do this year at the NCAA championships. You're saying 5 individual champions, and of course that would lead to Penn State winning a 12th team championship in the last 14 seasons. Just to clarify, the individuals, obviously they go through the tournament, and as they win, depending on how they win as well, they accumulate team points, which goes towards the team score. So there are the individual titles, and then there's the team title as well. Penn State certainly favored to win the team title and to win a decent chunk of the individual titles as well. Zach, hey, really appreciate you coming on today, giving some insight into one of the great programs that we've ever seen in college athletics. Thanks so much.
Hey, thanks for having me, John. Anytime you need me, I'm happy to join the show. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, there you have it. Zach Seyko hopping on today's show to talk about Penn State wrestling. The Nittany Lions, they are beyond just a dynasty. This is something that truly transcends the word dynasty. 11 championships in 13 seasons, soon to be 12 in 14. Big thanks to Zach for joining us. A reminder, bottom of our screen, check it out, PAC-Hub.com, PAC-Hub portal. That is your place to go. If you are in the NCAA transfer portal, this is how you can stand out. This is a great way to do it, to get on coaches' radars. If you're a coach looking for players, this is also a fantastic way to find those student athletes. So check it out, PAC-Hub.com. And one final reminder, like the video, subscribe to our channel. We want to get to 30 subscribers by the end of this month. We can do it. I appreciate all of you for joining us. I appreciate all of our subscribers. We'll have another episode hopefully later this week as well. And a reminder, if you do want to check out the NCAA Wrestling Championships, they begin tomorrow in Philadelphia. So Penn State, about 3 hours or so away from Happy Valley, will be competing for another national title. Thanks again for joining us. This has been the Around the Huddle podcast, powered by PAC-Hub.